Ah man, this haunted mansion is terrifying. I don't like the looks of that scary door. Hey, Kid Moyle, why don't you go open it?
Are you kidding me? I'm not going to open it. Not after what I had to do with that succubus. Tyson, it's your turn. You open it.
No, 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 no. You guys made me go through that Stargate first in Iraq. I'm not doing it now. Or you do it first.
Nah, mate, no way. I can barely walk after what that grey alien did to me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. What about that new guy?
Oh yeah. Hey you. Let's see how brave you are. See that over there? Go open the door and see what lies beyond.
One of the things that I lament about growing up as an adult is that you really see that there's no more sense of mystery in the world. When I was a kid, I used to think that I'd go out and find like a lost continent. I read stories about
A continent.
like the Earth
You
being
had
Continent.
flat.
big dreams for such a young man. I'm proud
Yeah,
of
I
you.
know, right? I would be like, maybe the Earth actually is flat, and like there's like more land beyond the ice wall and all that kind of stuff. You know, but But one of the stories that I read as a kid that seared itself into my memory, even till now, is the story of the Oak Island treasure. And it seared
Oh,
itself into my
wow.
memory is
Okay.
because it's actually
Hmm.
real. It's a real thing, and people don't know what's down there yet. It's in a real place. So naturally, I'm like, dude, I have to see this place when I get older, right? And it's in Canada. So for some of you, it's actually within flying distance. But but yeah, have you guys heard of the Oak Island treasure at all?
I have
Well,
not.
back in the day, I'm not sure if it's still referred to as that. It's the money pit. That's what they described as the area
Yep,
in
yep.
Oak Island, the supposed pit where everything from, I don't know, the Nephilim to conquistadors have
Oh.
left some treasure or ancient knowledge at the bottom of this pit. And I'm sure you'll get into it, but from what I recall, that the pit is positioned in such a way through different layers that they may or may not have found through wooden horizontal structures, that each time you try and dig through it, it fills up with water and mud, making it more and more difficult the deeper you go. And there was a History Channel show called The
Yep.
Curse of Oak Island that has been ongoing for years, that came out kind of after there was some more discourse about this. But I don't remember, and you may have said it. Where is it again?
It is in Canada, in Nova Scotia. So I don't even know
Mm.
what
Hmm.
Nova Scotia is, but it sounds like a cold place. So I'm just gonna go with that. Um, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
guess it is cold, isn't it?
I mean, the name itself, Nova Scotia, it sounds like you'd be freezing on that place, right?
hmm
Like, there's
hmm
nothing warm on Nova Scotia.
I don't know if that's on the east or west side of Canada. I always try and be a Canada hipster and say I know where Halifax is, so maybe Nova Scotia's near there.
Isn't that a bank?
But yeah, you're right that it involves all these like elaborate wooden structures. But we'll get into that later. The story actually starts with someone actually all of us know as well. It's the pirate story of Captain Kidd. I'm sure you guys have heard of him, right?
No.
I don't think
Really?
so. Like Billy the Kid?
No, no, no. Captain Kidd. He's like the most infamous pirate in history. He was a Scottish Navy captain who got a start by pirating and looting French ships for the British, right? Which
Mm.
pleased them
Oh.
because at the time they were at war with the French. But basically, after he gained their trust by jacking a bunch of French ships, he was commissioned by the British to attack other pirate ships. But
That's amazing.
immediately after setting sail, he turned on the British government and started pirating from everybody. So this guy, he stole so much money that the stereotype of pirates burying treasure, it originated from this guy, from Captain Kidd.
Oh, I
So
didn't know
yeah,
that. That's
he,
funny. I was about to call him a sellout for turning his back on his pirating ways and becoming a contractor pirate, which is the old school version of a Blackwater mercenary. So okay, well I'm glad
it's
he
like a
he
It's like a gig economy for the pirates.
Yeah, the pirate gig economy.
No, but yeah, some people estimate that he stole over $15 million in today's money in gold and silver. They say that he took
Damn.
over 200 bars of gold before he was hanged in 1701. And the cool thing is, when they hanged him though in 1701, they were only able to recover a small fraction of the money that he stole. The rest of the money was never found. So I don't know if you guys have ever watched One Piece or the intro to One Piece, but this guy's literally Gold Roger.
No.
He's like, you want my treasure, you can have it if you can find it. You know, he's like the OG like final boss of pirates.
Okay,
But,
Okay, nice.
is that the guy where they shared that short action clip of him where he has a really tiny sword and kills that other guy in a fight? Is that who is in the intro or no?
No, maybe I don't know.
Okay,
Probably not.
All right.
Sorry to sidetrack you. Keep going.
So from what I can tell, like this treasure is just all this gold he stole, right?
Hold on.
it's-
It'll
okay.
maybe something more. Right?
Sit tight. He's
All right,
weaving
all
a
right,
tale.
all right.
I like it.
The legend
Alright.
of Oak Island starts from a sailor from Captain Kidd's crew. So the legend is this guy who used to be on Captain Kidd's crew arrived on Oak Island in the early 1700s after his captain was hanged, and he had with him $2 million. Maybe it was $2 million in gold or $2 million in silver, but it was approximately around $2 million worth of stuff. He arrived on Oak Island in Nova Scotia, right? But as he arrived, he realized he was dying. And as he was dying, he decided to bury the treasure. And after burying it, he cursed the treasure. So
How?
the curse is that 7 people have to die looking for the treasure before the treasure can actually be found.
Okay.
How does he enforce this?
No, I don't know. Maybe
he enforces it through extra spiritual means. You know.
Maybe he created like
okay.
a tulpa that like roams the island or something.
The money pit token.
Turned into a skinwalker the moment he died.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But fast forward to I think the early 1800s, where the first mention of the money pit from someone besides the legend comes about. Right. So 3 teenagers, they see a depression in the ground, and for some reason they start digging. Right, which is weird because if 3 teens see a hole in like today's world, I don't think they would start digging as well. But
no, but they must have been. They didn't have much else to do back then. They say like, "Oh, look
true.
at that impression in the dirt.
Yeah.
Go get your shovel. We have some entertainment for the day instead of looking at our sisters or whatever they would do."
But yeah, so they started digging and they got to 9 meters of depth, which is using shovels. That's pretty good. And they would encounter a wooden platform every 3 meters. So once they hit 9 meters, though, they all abandoned their quest because apparently once they hit the depth of 9 meters, they got an overwhelming sense of dread and decided, this wasn't worth it. So they left it. But the tale of it spread from that point onwards, though. And in 1861, it officially got the attention of a company called the Oak Island Association Company, who tried to redig the original spot. But they realized after they dug to a depth of 33 meters, which was pretty good, the shaft that they were digging uncovered a system of these underground tunnels. So these elaborate tunnels that were constructed below the island stretched over 10,000 feet and specifically were designed to flood any hole with seawater if you dug deep enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And not to interject, but for people in first world countries, 33 meters is 108 feet. So they were getting pretty deep down there.
So they brought in a large sick, by the way. They brought in a large engine to pump out the seawater, but it wasn't enough to keep up with the amount of seawater flowing in. And the engine literally exploded. So it was at this point where the first of the ominous 7 deaths happened, right? And before the thing completely flooded, they did find some strange blue-colored mud.
Mm.
That was in 1861. In the 1890s and early 1910s, two more groups attempted to excavate the pit. So the first group arrived with, like they were swagging out with all these pumps and drainage equipment, and they thought they were gonna tackle it. But even that wasn't enough to keep the seawater out. They were able to dig out, however, a small piece of parchment with the letter VI printed on it. And almost immediately after they dug out the piece of parchment, the shaft flooded with seawater immediately and caused the second death. So it's some pretty crazy. It looks like a pretty dangerous place, man. I don't know.
Tomb Raider Legend of Zelda dungeon or something.
I know I was going to say, this sounds like you've made it to the next level of my dungeon. Now you must, the thing that sticks out to me when telling the story is, I mean, I don't know where that 7-person number is coming from, but you'd think someone who was really motivated just shows up with 5 more people. Maybe more have died since then, but show up with who's left, clean it up, and then the pit just opens up after, a blood sacrifice. Yeah, I'm putting together a team of people to shoot over this treasure. But the other thing is this sounds incredibly elaborate, almost too elaborate to protect. I mean, look, like, $15 million is a lot of money, sure, but to go through these type of, I don't know, trials, intricate procedures to congratulations, you've beaten all my trials, you've killed the necessary amount of people, and you've gotten to the bottom of the pit. Here's $10 million, and it's like, really, $10 million.
Well, at some point, it becomes more about it becomes less about the money and more about the principle, right? Like, you're not gonna let the pit defeat you. You have to conquer it,
But am I supposed to believe that a pirate from like hundreds of years ago is supposed to have built all of that, like an underground tunnel with like
allegedly a pirate? Hold on. So, but
the pirate puts his bifocals on and then gets his engineering, you know what I mean? Equipment out and says, 50-degree angle. Yeah, exactly. I find that hard to believe. While he's simultaneously dying of gout, apparently. So, whatever. But so go ahead, Tyson.
Yeah, but I mentioned there were two groups. So the second group is when some crazy stuff starts to happen. So this group of 7 guys, called the Old Gold Salvage Group, they start excavating the original site. They reach a depth of 34 meters on multiple shafts, so not just the original site. And for the entire time that they were there, they found nothing except towards the end of the time on the island, they uncovered a stone cipher tablet with some Masonic engravings.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Masonic on it, but it was impossible to like decipher any further because a lot of the markings were worn off because it was in the dirt, right?
It was either Masonic or Knights Templar. It was something, I guess those are kind of the same thing in a way, but I do remember it was some type of vaguely decipherable tablet. I was waiting to see if you brought that up because that was one of the few things I remember from the show is that they found some stone tablet. And I think that in itself made things interesting because it made it more than just a pit. Kind of made it about the island itself. It's kind of like a weird version of it's like Lost, like I don't know. It just makes
this becomes so much more
with a Legend of Zelda dungeon.
Dude, this becomes so much more like Lost after you learn who was in the group, the Old Gold Salvage Group. After they leave, so after they dig up this tablet, they leave the island and go on with their lives. One of the members of the group would go into politics 24 years later. His name was Franklin D. Roosevelt, and he became the 32nd president of the United States.
What?
Okay, that's
how crazy is that, dude?
I actually had no idea. I thought you were going to say, and he became a 2-term congressional senator in Ohio.
No, dude, Roosevelt was swagging out on Nova Scotia.
That is pretty interesting, Tyson. That is interesting. So, and he kept his secret for the rest of his life about the money.
Yeah, apparently he kept tabs on the island during his presidency. He's just like, yeah, let me know if anything pops up on Nova Scotia. And the general's like,
why do you ask? No reason.
He's like, oh yeah, no, just curious. But yeah, after this, a lot of excavations happened after. So I'm going to go rapid fire on some of these ones. Absolutely. So 1928 to 1939. this group drilled to 50 meters, and they started finding artifacts at 39 meters, which included an axe, a miner's pickaxe, and an anchor. 1956, the Restel family starts digging, and at a depth of 9 meters, hydrogen sulfide starts filling the shaft and knocks out one person in there at the time. So the guy that got knocked out, his son, tried to go down there, but gets knocked out by the gas as well. And after that, 3 more guys try to go in, and all 3 of them get knocked out by the gas.
Did they die?
So after a while, some random guy that's passing by realizes, oh wait, there's like 7 guys knocked out in this shaft right now. So this guy, he climbs down and it pulls out one of them. But the remaining 4 people in the shaft die. So this brings the death count from 2 to 6.
Wow. The pit fragged out that day.
Yeah.
That's
so
impressive.
1967 to 1990, a business syndicate called the Triton Alliance, which sounds pretty ominous, if I would say so, buys up the entire island, and starts their own excavation. So they use like this state-of-the-art technology at the time, drilling tech, and they were able to get down to 72 meters. And they were even able to towards the end of the shaft, the 70-ish meters, they were able to lower camera equipment down. But I'm sure you guys know, back then, even in like the 60s and 70s, camera equipment was really bad, especially if you're going like remote drilling stuff, right? So when they lowered the cameras down the shaft, the people that lowered the cameras down, they claimed they saw wooden chests and human remains.
Okay, that's a bit too. That's a little too fanciful for me. And was the skeleton draped over the chest?
Wait, so you're telling me that
Indiana Jones?
So you're telling me that there's like gas chambers, there's like a flooding mechanism thing, but they've got wooden chests.
Yeah. And to make it more interesting, after they pulled out the cameras, the shaft immediately collapsed.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They tried to redig. They tried to redig the shaft straight away after to get to the
sentient
alleged
cavern.
chest and skeleton, but they were only able to redig to 50 meters before the alliance fell out and they started throwing lawsuits at each other. So that is the end of the Triton Alliance at that point. And since 1990, nothing's happened since then, which means at this point, there's nothing really going on in Oak Island except for some group tours. Yeah. And that leaves the elephant in the room. If you guys remember, the curse is 7 people and only 6 people have died. So
someone needs to die.
Yeah, well, who's going to take one for the team, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So what was, it's tough to do something like this because I don't think the municipality there in Canada is very interested in getting to the bottom of it. So that kind of leaves with your own funding and your own organization to kind of get this impromptu treasure hunt together to get to the bottom of this pit, which may or may not even have anything at all. So it's hard to get the capital and the manpower and the interest to go and do something like this. It has to probably be through donation or just some sort of academic initiative, maybe.
But then again, I'm thinking like, dude, 72 meters, it's deep, but it's not like that deep though. Like, I'm sure you could dig to like 100 meters with like some drilling equipment, like even today, right? Like, I don't think it's that undoable,
The Freemason thing really threw me off guard there. It's 6 recorded people that died then. Sounds to me like this is some bait for normal people to kind of pursue and then end up in some deep underground military bunker getting probed by subterranean aliens.
Yeah, you think that's a Dulce Oak
Dulce
Island
Air.
base?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think I might have to roll the extraterrestrials out of this one. Although imagining a gray alien with a mining hat on and clicking the light on and off before he gets digging is kind of
Gassing,
funny. But I also think there's a lot of municipal red tape that goes into even doing a project here by the nearby town or whatever county that's in, or what Canadians call that jurisdiction. So it's even hard just to kind of get feet on the ground to investigate it further. And sometimes if there's not enough motivation there, it dries up pretty quickly. So I do know from what I remember of that Curse of Oak Island show that it was kind of a flash in the pan over the course of a year or two that kind of revitalized interest in it. This was about, I'd say 10 years ago at this point, that show was at its peak popularity. They were doing some digging or drilling, some deep where they would take just a long singular drill and try and get samples through that. I think that show kind of left off one of their major discoveries was they pulled back up a piece of wood that would be consistent with a treasure chest. So we already know there's wooden layers or some sort of man-made layers to the pit itself, but they managed to find some wood that may have been consistent with a storage or a chest, or they were even theorizing that it was a room of quote unquote treasure that was kind of blocked up there through seismographic data and what they were doing. But one of the things I primarily remember about that show is that stone tablet, and they were trying to entertain that. Why are we looking at this like it's something to be deciphered through words? Maybe this is a map of some sort. Isn't there another stone like this on the island? If we draw a triangle to where maybe another stone would be and something else that may have been of interest around the money pit, can we find something there? And that really didn't yield too much, but people started looking at it. You know how they do the what's that perfect, it's kind of like a shell shape, the golden ratio. They try and implant that onto a lot of things in nature. Fibonacci sequence. Yeah, and I like when they overlay that over the pyramids of Giza and show the perfect measurements that went into that. Supposedly, who knows if it truly lines up or it's just happenstance, but they were doing everything they could to find some coincidence between natural mathematical geometric progressions and what's going on at the money pit. So people have looked at it from every which way.
I mean, if there's a Freemason if there's like a Freemason digging down there, like playing Minecraft, then I mean, those guys are into lots of weird like that. They love their geometry and.
Yep.
So going off that, there are two leading theories as to what's down there, and more. You actually mentioned the first one, which is the Templar connection. So supposedly the Knights Templar arrived on this island and they buried the Holy Grail there. And they constructed these elaborate tunnels to prevent people from accessing the Holy Grail. The second theory is that Marie Antoinette, after she was expelled from her country, she was carrying a large amount of jewels and precious items. So apparently, according to this theory, she got laborers to construct this elaborate system to hide all her jewels and jewelry under this island in Nova Scotia.
Yeah. One of the things that I was thinking about as you were saying that is, what if and they've probably delved deep into this, but what if the topical structure or layout of the island, the geology of it in general was a lot different at the time when this money pit was created? Maybe it's a lot older than we think. Maybe it's more dated than initially thought, and it was really easy to make this money pit. Maybe there wasn't as much seawater. All these tunnels that nearby that look like it intentionally fills the money pit up. Maybe it wasn't like that at the time when they put this together, and it was a bit easier than we're thinking. So that could be my only reasoning. Or maybe
there's another way in, like another entrance.
It could be, and I think that's maybe they were toying with the tablets. Maybe it'd be it's just you want it to be like, and then you turn the tablet clockwise and then back, and it's what was that movie?
You shoot the eyes out with the bow and arrow, and then
Exactly.
Like light the torches and stuff, and then a chest of piss.
What do you think it was, Tyson? Who do you think made it?
It'd be pretty funny if it was just like a massive like bunker down there, and people just like chilling and like living life, and then like some drobit just comes through the hole and like just seawater just like starts flooding the entire bunker, and they're like, what's happening here?
Living life peacefully is they found, bro, I found Plato's cave or whatever.
Dude, it's just like a medieval like Fallout bunker with like the Holy Grail, and they're just chilling with God. But then it
would be mole people down there. Part of me thinks that it's funny because there's this one church where the Holy Grail supposedly is. I can't remember if it's the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant, but some priest walks out once a day, and I saw some old History Channel show that said this is where it supposedly is, but they won't let anyone inside because it's so holy. And that just reeks of, yeah, it's in here, guys. We swear. It's definitely at this cool church in the middle of nowhere. We promise. So if the only thing it could be besides treasure is a holy relic, I don't see anything else down there that would be worth burying that's kind of consistent from a European kind of transatlantic perspective. That would be something more than that. Because if it were Egypt, you could say like, ooh, like Egyptian mummy stuff or whatever. It's
no. Actually, the Americas, supposedly, according to Abraham Lincoln, used to be roamed by giants.
There you go. Yeah, actually, that is America's giants.
maybe it was like a former giant bunker or something.
What if that's an easy one. Giants built it. That's a freebie, right?
Actually, they could be the excavators. That's yeah. But
one temple or something.
Have you guys ever seen the Conjuring films, like The Nun and that?
Yeah, sure.
You've seen The Nun? So my headcanon is like down there, the Knights Templar hid the vial of the blood of Jesus Christ, just like in the film, So they've got the Grail, they've got a vial of the blood of Christ, and it's just chilling down there. That would be so sick.
So wait, so the giant thing, right? So those guys, according to biblical scripture or other scriptures or whatever, that was like pre-flood, right? So it would stand to reason that, like, if this thing was like a pre-existing ancient temple of some sort, that it was once not underwater, and or it was built with like those seawater traps in mind for like the flood, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it's like kind of like water seems to be a running theme here, and it's like deep underground and it's big.
I'll probably bring this up often, but there's a book called Our Haunted Planet where the author talks about, there's John Keel, who talks about how within the history of just America, so you can loop Canada into that, people have found items in their backyard, perfectly spherical objects that have been dated for, and this is if you trust carbon dating, hundreds of thousands, millions of years, that kind of bypass the technological capabilities of Native Americans. So what I'm saying is there are things in our earth that we're uncovering that we can't explain, and I think that this money pit is kind of a larger version of that. And I think we should look at it through a different lens than Bud the pirate building it while he's dying of gout or whatever it is, supposedly.
Maybe there's like a Stargate down there. It's like the pirate traveled through time. Like
maybe it's like a future pirate from the future. Some guy from Somalia in like the year 3000. He built the tunnels, right?
Somali pirates have super outdated futurist technology, which is just basic level time travel. You're right.
Well, the Somalian pirate time traveler in Canada in the Temple of Giants.
Also, just to really rewind here, Halifax is in Nova Scotia, so I guess I did already indirectly know that Nova Scotia existed. So we're in a good place. So should we consider the money pit problem solved here? We're good.
Yeah,
we found
it's officially the blood of Christ is down there, and the Holy Grail. So yeah.
Okay, well I'm definitely not going to be on board with that, but I'll guess it's some kind of type of elaborately buried treasure that was a lot easier to put down there maybe 1,000 years ago than it would be now due to changes in sea level through recorded history. So you got any final thoughts on that,
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty interesting story. I'm surprised I haven't heard of it before. So, Moya, I might check out that History Channel documentary you're talking about, because
Yeah, get on that money pit life, my G.
I could really do with it right now.
Well, yeah, right. For all our sake. All right. Well, Tyson, I do appreciate you bringing this one in. It's pretty good. You set the bar high. So now I have some work to do on the next one when we bring in a subject. So much appreciated.
Looking forward to it. Hell yeah.
All right. So until next time, guys, we'll see what's behind the scary door.